Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to this roundtable about best practices and guidelines and methodologies to develop smart cities. My name is Gloria Grau. I'm a consultant expert and in ICT, working for many years with smart cities. And I'm going to introduce briefly the speakers, today's speakers. I will introduce them one by one, so I will first introduce our first speaker, who is Thomas Müller. He works for SmartCities GmbH, management partner, and he is the Smart City is a unique and global smart city network with currently more than 12,000 users in more than 170 countries. So please, Thomas, go ahead.
Thank you, Gloria. Yeah, welcome to the North District Agora. I will kind of look at least at the monitor a bit because I cannot otherwise see my presentation. What I would like to introduce to you is a circular strategy framework for cities to better manage smart city transformation. Yeah, we'll come over. So when you look at the history of smart city development, and I'm sure most of you are aware of this, we have been talking about this for about 20 years now in the concept, but in advancing that, it has been about the last 10 years. We have moved from a very technological or technology-driven perspective now to, let's say, the state-of-the-art smart city development, which is citizen-centric, so puts the citizens and the people in the middle of the concept, basically, and seeing technology only as an enabler, basically. But the thing is, to manage that from a city perspective, it is very difficult for cities to really shape the structure and the communication that is needed to really make it happen. And this is basically just to give you 3 examples of the most important problems in cities, that they act in silo structures. So even the different departments don't often know what projects are going on, what is the other department doing. So breaking up those silo structures is one of the most important aspects. The second thing is that, of course, a lot of services and even processes are not yet digitized in any way. So the accessibility is highly limited. And a very, very important thing is also that the prioritization of projects and initiatives is kind of on a decision level made in the ivory tower. Often it's politics involved, it's marketing involved, but less the citizen-centric part. So basically, they decide for big projects that make them look good, but in the end, that might not be that these projects are the most relevant ones for the cities. And also, to drive smart city transformation, you need the management backing. So 2/3 of it is basically leadership to align the people on the operational level who have to basically do the legwork to implement projects together. Because we have seen that although we have been talking so long about smart cities, we still need to do a lot of education in the first place for cities to rightly understand what that concept exactly means and what the ingredients are that are needed. What we did is a guide with the German federal government, and we have assessed 50 cities in Germany on what the state of smart city transformation is. And that guide basically has introduced a 3-step circular approach on smart city transformation. The first thing is really about creating the transparency inside the city, what's going on in terms of projects, know where you are. And then the second step, you need to prioritize opportunities and needs that you have in the city in terms of urgency and importance to the city, to break down that let's say, ivory tower thinking and also involve the different departments from a citizen-centric perspective and to verify those needs with the different stakeholders. And then in the third place, once you have prioritized and verified based on limited resources that all cities have, you then move into the selection of potential solutions to solve certain problems. So basically what it means is that smart city is not a project. It is a continuous change process, and you need to kind of realign your goals and all the problems and urgencies that you have in the city year after year or in time frames that you really determine because at some point you will have new budget, new projects, you will find out what works, what doesn't work, and that makes your strategy drive forward basically and also track the progress of solutions. That guide was so successful in Germany that we rolled it out in Poland as well. We will roll it out at the end of the year in Mandarin in Taiwan. But most importantly, of course, as we speak English here and we have the international audience, we will roll it out as global partner platform of the United Nations in English in spring of next year, and then successively in different other languages as well. But you will find that information online, or afterwards you can also give me your card so that you can get the information on that. But based on what we have discovered during those, let's say, advisory work that we did, is that the cities don't have the necessary tools to manage the transformation efficiently and organize that in a very digitized way. So what we're currently developing is a smart city toolbox, we call it, so the software as a service application for cities to better manage that process and to enable them to lay that foundation from a strategy and management perspective to move into the selection and ideation of projects and the successive implementation. One last information, and then I finish. The Be Smart City platform itself, as I said, global partner platform of the United Nations, connects basically cities and solution providers, but also universities and interested citizens on one platform. We have, you said 12,000, the old number, it's growing continuously now, 13,500 members, more than 660 solutions on the platform that have been implemented in more than 1,000 cities already, and our members are from 170 countries, so truly global. And we connect the actors to exactly do what we have been talking about in the last 10 years and what was one of the results of the Smart City Expo last year, sharing best practices and knowledge about solutions globally. So I want to invite you to be part of the collective intelligence, to share that knowledge. The platform is free to register. And yeah, I want to invite you to become a member of that community and also become a member of the United for Smart Sustainable Cities initiative of the UN. Thank you very much, and looking forward to your questions later.
Okay, maybe the introduction. You can go through the slides here if you want to. I didn't tell you, but you had. Okay, our second speaker is Magnus Qvant. Magnus holds 2 university degrees in fire protection engineer and deployment marketing from Lund University. He today holds the position as General Secretary of the Resilient Regions Association. It's a public-private collaborative organization for resilient cities and regions. And today his presentation will be about resilience by design, an approach to address complex urban challenges.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, something about resilience by design. As mentioned, I'm today representing Resilient Regions Association, but I'm also the co-founder of Nordic Urban Resilience Institute, and we are based in South Sweden in a city called Malmö. Rebuilt by design, we were very inspired by New York and the aftermath of Storm Sandy, where they had this huge project, Rebuilt by Design, where they decided to actually protect Lower Manhattan from storms in the future, but also providing solutions that have co-benefits and fulfill a purpose on daily basis on Manhattan. Another project was in the Bay Area, California. It was called Resilient by Design. And there is a small difference between these two. New York was taking place after this big catastrophe from Storm Sandy. But the Bay Area, they were kind of looking into the future, realizing that they will suffer when the sea level rises. And they will be dealing with floods and other purposes as well. So this was a challenge that was taking place before no one really had experienced the trouble that will come in the future. Both projects are huge projects and grand. The Bay Area in California was financed by the Rockefeller Foundation with $42 million to just run the project. Those numbers and those figures are, of course, difficult to compare with smaller scale cities and relate to. So I would like to recommend everyone to look into Rebuilt by Design at this webpage. There's a lot of inspiration, a lot of information. The trouble is you have to scale it to your city, to your circumstances. Same thing with Resilient by Design. There is also so much information provided on the web chat, and it truly is inspiring, and I especially like this last one, as it is, you can relate to this kind of tools and implementation and the results, even though you haven't experienced the trouble yet. So how do we scale this to cities that have around 100 and 150,000 inhabitants? It's very difficult to come to the mayor and talk with the mayors and the mayor's office and say, hello, we should compare ourselves to New York or to the Bay Area. That is definitely a challenge. But you need to scale it down because there is many things that could be scaled down and could be inspirational, and the tools and the methods could be used. So what we did in the city of Malmö was looking into a problem we had when there was the storm Sven that was threatening the city tunnel. The city tunnel in Malmö is basically the bottleneck for the whole railway traffic systems in Scandinavia connecting to Europe. So it's a crucial point, and it needs to be protected. On the picture you can see the emergency service entrance to the tunnel, where they're supposed to get down to the tunnel if there is a fire or if there is the need of an emergency operation. This place was completely flooded during the storm Sven, and that was so close that the water was pouring down into the city tunnel, where all the electric cordons is at the bottom of the tunnel. So that would have meant a train stop for basically Northern Europe after a while. So this is how it looked before Sven, and this is how it looks today, many years after. And you might wonder, what the heck, isn't there a solution? But there is a solution. There is what we call an emergency management solution that was designed or developed with 3 different agencies, from national level, regional level, and local level. But all those people were from departments working with crisis management. So those people were kind of silos in their way of addressing problems and challenges. And they came up with this solution that took about 2 hours to put in place when the sun is shining. And me, as a former naval officer, sailing big ships in storms, etc., I'm kind of hesitate when I think of whether it's possible to put this in place when it's really bad weather. So when it comes to emergency management solutions, there is no solution that is stronger than its weakest part of the chain. And there is a lot of change when it comes to respond to these kind of incidents, from having someone recognize that there is a threat from the weather report or the weather forecast to actually have everything in place and have this personnel well trained to put it in place, etc. So we were looking into what would happen if we went into the design methodology and looked at design solutions for this. So we were talking with people using the park, and what kind of paints do they have? What are they looking for in this place? Because this is not a very beautiful construction with concrete and a steel plate in the middle of the park where kids are playing and people are having a time off when it's nice weather out. So we came up with this solution instead. Easily built. It cost about 50% of the development cost of the other solution, and it works every day, and it also provides some nice things to the park as an elevated space where parents can overlooking kids playing, and some banks that you can sit in on the sunshine. So we learn a lot from this simple process of scaling down those big projects from New York and Bay Area into the city of Malmö and to other small cities. And then we were facing, what about other challenges, because both Storm Sandy and the project in California was about floodings. So what if we look into other issues in the city? So we stopped and trying to find out what's the point of a bus stop when the bus is not there. There was a procurement procedure in the city where new bus stops were supposed to be bought and put in place, and that was the time to look into this. So we were running a workshop and start talking with people that were waiting for the bus and using the bus stop, and we found out that the bus stop is used for so many other purposes. Young people in high school, etc., they're using the bus stop to really connect with friends, and they kind of taking different buses and switch buses there, but they are using that place for having their kind of meetings for half an hour, so they skip one bus and take the next one and using that place. There were elderly people using it for picking up those free newspapers that is given out at the place, and there are so many other things. And they're all related to this very strategical place in cities that we can no longer give away for just one purpose, waiting for the bus, or sell it out for commercial purposes. So from this project, we learned a lot about how to use design methodology in many other different ways, and others, for example, when it comes to design these services. And from this workshop, there was also one company formed, and they went global, made their first sales in Honduras of how to design these bus stops, based on the fact that if we could put solar cells on top of the roof of these shelters at the bus stops, we could provide enough energy for comparing to 270 normal and standard villas in Sweden. So it's a huge contribution to that system as well. So basically, this is my takeaway is that things are scalable, both up and down. And finally, you should never do a brainstorm before you have had a paint storm. And the design methodology provides tools and services for that. I'm around, and so is also my colleague standing over there, if you would like to talk about these issues. Thank you.
Our third speaker will be Tayara Calina. She's coordinator for Forum Innova Ciudades. She has 10 years experience working in public policy at city level, and she will talk about how we'll discuss the challenges for cities to innovate and share our strategy to mobilize and engage the government representatives.
Where am I? I mean, this. Hi, good afternoon. My presentation will echo a little the presentation of Tom's, but just as a coincidence, actually. I will be showing you a Brazilian initiative, very new initiative of cities, where we are trying to build a platform for horizontal collaboration between city-to-city collaboration, and also vertical collaboration, which meaning federal, state, and municipal level. I hope I have more 5 minutes presentation. Yeah, I'm terrible in talking jokes. Well, I'll begin to speak. At the end of the last year, we asked more than 100 municipal leaders and GovTech entrepreneurs about what were the main challenges to innovate in the municipal government. And we thought you were surprised, but actually it's not. There are different comprehensions about what different actors think of innovation is or should be. So, excuse me. For municipal leaders, innovation should give them shortcuts and efficiency for delivering public policies in the long term. For civil servants, they were more worried about optimizing their day-to-day work, especially dealing with bureaucratic processes. For startups, they believed that innovation should have technology involved and should be disruptive. And for citizens, they were only worried about getting better public services. So, also the municipal leaders mentioned other sorts of challenges, such as the lack of dialogue between and within departments, the many difficulties for establishing external partnerships and also for hiring outside solutions, so hiring startup services, for example. The many difficulties for convincing the citizens that the costs of implementing innovation or smart city solutions for the municipal finance or budget. And they also felt that there's too much bureaucracy in the decision-making that slows down the process of hiring or implementing innovation. But there is a consensus that innovation is not one person's job or one organization's job. Governments do not have the answer for everything, and they don't have to have the answer for everything. So we saw an opportunity and also a necessity to gather municipal leaders to discuss and share their experiences, their failures, their successes, and their frustrations about innovating in the public sector. Therefore, we created in the beginning of this year, in February, the Fórum MODERATOR, which is sponsored by Instituto Arapyaú, which is a philanthropy institute. He's the backbone institution behind the Fórum, and is also powered by the National Mayors Association. But the presidency is occupied by the Curitiba City Hall, and we count today about over 30 cities, members of the Fórum. And Brazilian has over 200 million inhabitants and more than 5,000 cities. So we're talking here about 30 cities, and we are counting a little bit more of 10% of the population. I know that for now we are not yet very representative in terms of number or quantity, but we are already a very strong voice for cities, for the Smart Cities agenda in Brazil. For this year, we are focusing on establishing the forum and also giving voice to the priority agendas of the municipal governments. So we have 3 strategies going on right now. Strengthen member engagement on forum agendas, create a dialogue with federal government representatives, and establish Nova Cidades as a recognized actor and player in the innovation ecosystem. As for now, we have already organized several meetings with experts on smart city solutions. We have we have participated in 4 international events, and we had very fruitful meetings with federal government, which resulted in receiving the Fórum Nova Cidades as the main voice for cities to discuss the Smart Cities agenda with national governments at the national scope. For the next year, we're planning to organize more meetings. We'll conclude a study on innovation procurement, We'll have regular webinars discussed with innovation cases, and we plan to launch a call for action during municipal elections. And hopefully, in the end of in 2 years from now, we will be here again presenting even more exceptional cases of innovation of Brazilian cities supported by the forum. Thank you.
Okay, our fourth speaker will be Andrew Watkins. He's the co-founder and president of Marketplace.city, and he will be talking about, he will be enlightening about one of the problems with deploying new technology, that it's procurement.
All right, welcome. Thanks for coming, everyone. I'm Andrew Watkins. I'm guessing we're still slideless, which is fine. Just imagine really amazing slides and colors and really great stuff as I'm talking. So the piece I'm talking about today is something that comes at the intersection of all of this smart city technology you can find throughout this floor, right? Eventually, you need to implement it and you need to procure it. Sadly, all of the companies behind this wall are not giving it away for free. I thought they were. I was under that impression. And so the cities and governments need to find a way to procure it. And being a smart city isn't just about what technology you're putting out and what you're doing. It's about innovating on the process too to be efficient and effective. That's the end result here, is to better serve our residents and our citizens and do those sorts of things. And so in order to that, we've been working with cities who want to and are trying to, the slides are showing up here, but not there, sorry, on the procurement process. And I want to sort of take you through that process and some of the examples today, right? So right now, generally what cities and governments tell us is, getting technology is hard, right? They find something here. They don't know if that's the full market. They don't know if, oh, there it is. Look at that. It's working again. Yeah, perfect. I can see it too. All right, great. So this is right where the slides we're going to start anyway. So this is a common problem of they find something, they want some of the technology they find here. So what do you do about it? Well, what are other cities doing? How do I, make sure it's the right thing for me? Are these vendors that I'm meeting, are they the right ones? Did I turn left or did I turn right at the fork in the road back here? And so ultimately, they don't know then internally how they go and buy it too, whether it's a tender or an RFP. And a lot of times people just give up. And so we hear that constantly, and I think that some of the other panelists have said it. There's been a lot of talk about things for 10 years, and sometimes it's not because, only because some of the technologies weren't there. It's because the execution of how you get them into cities is hard and is difficult. Because cities lack some of the things that we as consumers and the business users have, which is centralized marketplaces, information all in one location. So what we provide with Marketplace.city is answering 3 primary questions for governments. What are my peers doing? How are those solutions performing? The sort of ratings and reviews process. And how can I buy it? Some people think all government procurements are done through these big, open, competitive solicitations, tenders, RFPs. There are lots of other ways, people doing sole source, using cooperative purchasing agreements, something that's more common in North America of following on a contract or piggybacking on sort of the other contract. Those are all sort of different options that cities need to understand. And so what we are able to show them through our solutions and our process is the directory and the market landscape of all of the solutions that are out there, the validated case studies of where these people have worked before, not just, hey, I work in 100 big cities, but here's actually the certification that, yep, the sponsor from that city said yes, all that they're saying is true. The contracts and the pricing associated with that, since it's all part of public record, and then ultimately those purchasing vehicles as well. And ultimately that helps the cities make their choices, see what's out there, make sure they're getting good pricing, and lowering risk, right? As governments, not generally considered a risk-taking group, they want to be effectively serving residents and using those tax dollars, and so that is what part of that is. So how this process works with, so a city that we've been pioneering this with and sort of pushing it out with is the city of Aurora, Illinois. It's a city of about 200,000 people, about an hour west of Chicago, and this is the overall process. But distilling it down for what we're doing with Aurora, The idea behind it is the city, set, and that's why it's in that one color, sets the parameters, right? What do you want? What do you need? We then can provide them with, all of the market landscape, what solutions are out there, so it's not just, I wrote detailed down requirements for something I don't yet know what all the different options are. How do you know what citizen engagement software or policing software or whatever is out there until you've seen all of those things? And if you can't ask, how can you get that? So we start with a broad net, and then review with them and sort of filter down to, now I better understand which sets of problems fit my solution, and then from there, those are matched with what are the contracts, what are the pricing, and what options do I have to buy it. So if the solutions that I like all are SaaS software or software as a service that has a fixed price, has a very public pricing, going to a tender or going to an RFP when that's available isn't going to get you a better price, isn't going to get you a better result. All it's doing is adding time and cost to your internal resources and to the vendor's resources, which is ultimately not good for the market. So sharing all that information and allowing the cities to make the decision that it's the best fit for them, not the only fit of, well, this is the one company that responded, or these are the two companies that responded, but they can see all of them out there and make the best fit. So the benefits that this gets to the government folks are, it covers a broader market area. If you're in New York or Singapore or Barcelona, you might be seeing all of that and getting all of that traffic. If you're a mid-sized city in a lot of places, you're seeing a much smaller ecosystem. But as technology is, it's not all going to be custom development by your local entrepreneur, your local company. You want to get some of the best in breed. It can be more easily delivered that way. The larger market coverage is important. You get that market pricing, you get those references from the peers, lowers the internal resources and the amount of work you have to do, because it cuts out all of that research time since it's done on the platform, and ultimately shortens the timelines. Some of the results in working with, this is specifically results from Aurora. We know one of the cities today is reducing the cycle time of that RFP and tender process from, hey, we have something that we think we want to go and get, to actually executing a contract by about 60%. Reduction in sort of staff time. So in the city's case, they didn't add resources in IT and in some of their internal finance and procurement functions to do this, because they can now find all this information and are provided this information from our solution, and getting 20 plus solutions that they're evaluating versus a lot of times seeing 2 or 3 that are coming back from their older processes. Some of the areas we're have done this in, and I think it's important because when we talk about smart cities, it's like, what's the boundary, right? Is it just autonomous vehicles and smart lighting? It's really any of the technology that's going into the city. So we've done this with smart waste management solutions, grants management, public safety, cybersecurity, some of the tech hardware involved in it, and a broader set as well as we look to other cities, whether it relates to some of their utility softwares, parking, other things of that nature, lighting. So all of those aspects, can encompass on the same process. So that's the overall piece. Happy when we get to answer questions. I'm Andrew Watkins, as I mentioned. The company's Marketplace.city. I should mention too, it's free for the public sector to use, and then as it's in our name, a marketplace. The idea behind it is when a successful transaction happens, that's where our business model works. So thanks.
Okay, and our last speaker is José Antonio Ondiviela. He works he's a Smart City Director at Microsoft, and he's also a researcher. And he will explain us a little bit about the research he's been doing this last year. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me for this event. The idea is to spend the next minutes trying to explain to you the conclusion from my research on what's making a city attractive for talented citizens like you. Talent has been one of the main components for the city's prosperity recipe in the past, and it's also a main component for the fourth industrial revolution area, robotics and artificial intelligence. So we are in the middle of a fierce competition for talent. And in this moment, the cities are investing on technology, and they are in the situation where they are trying to make something like a Copernican shift and moving from a data center city, datapolis, in a citizen-centered city, placing the citizen in the center, and then all the data trying to serve those citizens, and that's basically the situation today. They are trying to create these conditions to make those cities more attractive. In my doctoral thesis, I'm trying to approach this problem and help the citizens to choose the city that is the best for them to develop their full potential, and also to help the majors to create the conditions that are making this city attractive. Okay, what's making a city attractive? I don't know, but basically I can do this approach. It's a question of an emotional component and a rational component. For the emotional component, I call it city magnetism. It's something that is like a magnet, is attracting me to the city, it's something that I like. And also the emotional component that I have named the profitability. It's a good deal for me to live in this city. Is a good decision in terms of the gives and the gets I have from this city. I don't know, but what I did last year in this same meeting is to run a survey. So I asked all of you to sort the main components of the city services just to determine which is the most important. To my surprise, I received a lot of answers, more than 1,600, and with this I have built a model. I am using 140 cities, more than 100 different indicators from international bodies, and then your input. Well, what's making a city attractive from the magnetism point of view? This is the emotional component, really, really hard to address. Again, I don't know, but I am approaching this with three main areas. One is the past, which is the identity of the city, the culture, the gastronomy, the history, the climate, everything that we cannot change overnight, everything that is the addition of all the past people living in this particular city. Then the present is about the dynamism, the creativity, the competitiveness of the city, what's making you wake up every day and work and do or develop your full potential. And then finally, the future, the strategy, the human capital, the smart city initiatives, something that is making this city a lighthouse, something brilliant that is attracting me. Well, that's from the emotional point of view. From the rational point of view, the idea, hey, this is a contract. I'm talking about the citizenship contract that each and every of you have with your city. This is a collection of gives and gets. You are getting from the city this collection of these 10 different services. And in exchange, you are paying a price for living in this particular city. Imagine the work you do. For the same kind of work, in a different city, you will make different wages. Also, you will pay in different taxes. And at the end of the month, you will have different quantity of pocket money. With this money, you can go to the market, and there is a different net purchase power. You can buy different things. This is the price you are living because of the price you are paying because you're living in this particular city, right? And then you need to compare this with the services you get from the city. Well, the results from this survey in all the Smart City attendees last year was the following. The most appreciated service was urban mobility. Then social services, sustainability, very important, safety, physical and virtual safety, very important. Education and employability, not so relevant. Probably most of the attendees were very much skilled people. Urban planning, governance, that's something the politicians do. Connected cities, and very sadly, the least relevant cultural services. Well, this is giving me the following reflection. Why urban mobility? Come on, because urban mobility is the city's blood. It's what's making you all come here and attend this meeting. Is the topic that is making all of us being social, that is developing these facets from our human being. Something super important and something that the cities should prioritize. Well, using all this data and the 140 cities, this is the result. I very much hate rankings, because in the rankings, only the city that is the winner, in this case Melbourne, is very happy, and the other are not so much. And again, this is a very personal situation. The city that is the most attractive for me could be not for you, depending on your personal situation, preferences, also dependencies. You have children at your charge, elder people at your charge. You will have a different balance on the different city services. This is the situation. You can see here mainly the winners. And if we look at the main findings, we can say that from the magnetism, from the emotional point of view, the most attractive cities are those from Europe, and because they have a massive identity, you know. Also, the geo-position is a clear advantage for them. From the dynamism point of view, the Canadian, Australian, and also the American cities are very dynamic, very attractive, especially in the USA. From the strategy, looking at the future, we can see some few collection of main cities like Copenhagen, Helsinki, Stockholm, or Tel Aviv, why not, plus some US cities. And please pay attention to the 5 Asian tigers, very, very attractive from the future, from the strategy point of view. If we look at the profitability, it's a good deal to live in these cities. If we look at the economic component, obviously the USA, Switzerland, Canada, and Australia are very attractive from this point of view. Here in Europe, unfortunately, we pay a massive amount of taxes. We receive good services, but we pay as well a lot of taxes, okay? The best in services are, again, the European cities, then Japan, Canadian, Australia, and USA, but some of them are really, really expensive in terms of cost of living. Imagine that we consider Switzerland and some other very expensive European cities. So it's a balance, it's a combination of something that you love and something that is a very good deal for you. Okay, wanna try? You can take and you can download this application in Android and Apple. You can enter your different scale of values from the different city services. You can enter your preferences. What you prefer? A city with a massive past, a lot of flavor, a city that is very vibrant, present, a city with a very much promising future strategy. Then enter your data and you will get the top 15 cities that are better matching your preferences. Congratulations and good luck.
Okay, now if you want to have some questions to the speakers, if you have any question. Okay, I don't know if we have a microphone around here. He wants to ask a question.
Those that we have here, I think. Take
Okay,
one.
the ones we have here. Because
this is mainly directed at Thomas and Anna. What do you find the most important stakeholder groups driving the development of smart cities? Is it the cities themselves, or the citizens in the cities, or maybe the startups, or maybe established private sector? Which do you find are the most driving for innovation?
okay,
Good. I introduced the four stages or generations of smart cities. So basically, from today's perspective, how it should be, or what we see is the cities taking clearly the lead. The desired state, from my perspective, personally, would be more pressure from the citizens to have more active participation, because looking back to the past, it was more technology-driven. So selling technology means we build something that you need. But let the citizens decide what the city needs, basically, and not the city administration. But that is a wish.
okay, Magnus also wants to answer.
I can contribute to that by, I don't know if the mic is on. I can contribute to that, but saying the city has a responsibility to engage and make it possible for citizens to be involved in those design process and what should be the smart solutions. And I think especially the design project in New York embraced that. There were a lot of, and there still are a lot of workshops with citizens where citizens are invited. They're even provided dinner and meals to be able to attend, not only for half an hour or an hour, but actually a half-day workshop with citizens in the neighborhoods, identifying what their needs are and what their pains are, and trying to come to some good solutions forward. And I think so. My answer to that is that the municipality, the local government, have a huge responsibility on engaging the citizens by having the visions and having the procedures of doing that.
I do agree. I think the cities has a great responsibilities, but also because they are the connecting dot of the whole ecosystem. So they can talk with the citizens, they can hire the startups, and they can also push forward policies, and including policies of innovation and technology to create public incubators to host startups that are looking to selling B2B and not B2C or B2G. So I think this connecting dot is a very important role occupied by the cities.
José Antonio, no?
I fully agree. I think it's a combination of both. The city is the enabler, is setting the conditions, but the citizens are the architects of their future. Imagine a ratatouille. You, the citizens, you are the vegetables that are there, and the city is the pan where everything is cooked.
Any other question? Yeah.
Yeah, hello. We talk about citizens, and indeed the word citizen comes from cities, but very often we think about people having a certain passport. But can each of you comment on how do cities go about engaging their citizens? Of course, they're going to find groups of people who are motivated, but are they representative? Are they running away with certain people who have certain interests, and they're doing that in the name of everyone? What is the advice you have to give?
About engaging.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I think at all times, there's always a tendency to hear the louder voices, right, and the squeakier wheels, and that's I think just part of some of human nature. Some people are going to be more silent about their opinions, some are going to keep them in. I think one of the benefits of the technologies and some of the stuff you see here is there's better ways to engage people and meet people with what they're already saying, or as some people refer to it, like hear the silent majority or the hidden majority of people who aren't going to a town meeting or aren't showing up at a protest or at City Hall to talk to their representative or whoever, but they're saying it on social media or they're saying it in the way that they behave or those kind of things. And so, social media is one way to go and reach that information. The second one is to take the data that's given to you at your hands of like, well, if people aren't, using a park, why aren't they using it? They're voting with their feet, right? Like you might not know the exact reason unless you then go to follow up and do some sort of survey, but it could be it's not convenient, it's not useful, it's not safe, all of those things. And so I think the benefit of actually a lot of this stuff is we now have a way to reach a lot more people than just, I sent out a survey and here's who came back, or here's who came to see me today.
I can add to that. I mean, if the city really has a strategy how to engage citizens, no matter what kind of citizens it is, then it's more likely that it will happen. But if the city is lacking that strategy, if they don't care about that, then you will have activism. You will have certain groups that might not be representative of the citizens, but have a very strong opinion on different issues. But then you have those kind of activists, a small group kind of disturbing the city to get the message out. But if you have a strategy, it's more likely to happen that you get engagement. And I think with all the technology and possibilities that is today, that it's easy to reach out to all kind of people. There is a media, there is a channel for basically everyone today.
But maybe to add to that, yes, the strategy is nice, but you need to fill it with life as well. So the culture must change in a lot of city governments. I worked for 15 years in state and local government. I don't remember how often I heard the sentence, we know what the citizens want. And even if you have like participation element, like in urban planning, it is required by law, and they will collect all the ideas and then they put it in the drawer, and they will do exactly what they plan to do. But what we see now is more like a shift in the empowerment of the citizens due to information. But nevertheless, we are talking a lot about digital technology. What about those groups that don't have access to that technology? So what we see also is selecting a district-wise or quarter-wise approach to connect with the local communities as well in an analog way to participate and to enable the inclusion. So the digital tools for many parts of the population are nice, but depends on the country. In Japan and in Europe, you have aging population, so it is a different story in some respects. So do not digitize everything, because you will not reach sometimes a large amount of the population or certain weaker groups.
Hello, my name is Albert Isern from Momentum Analytics, Barcelona. Congratulations for this amazing panel. I have a question for José Antonio Ondiviela, please. Congratulations for this amazing work. And I have a question because how can cities put in value all this amazing work that you have done? How can cities put in value for them all this amazing work? And if you can talk about the next steps or your vision about this work, how can you are following with that?
Well, cities can take this kind of analysis to see where they are leaders and where they are laggards, and try to prioritize the investments on those areas that can make them more attractive. This is a global competition, and the idea is to improve the conditions so the citizens will prefer this particular city among other in this global context. Okay, and from the other point of view, from the citizens' point of view, they can take a look at this and use this assessment to prioritize which cities in the world are the best for them to develop their full potential. We are thinking about 1.7 billion millennials that are out there. And if they are skilled enough, if they have some languages, they can choose the city in the world where they can go and develop their lives. So that's the question. This is happening with all the nomads today. And all these people have this chance to make this happen. My next steps, I will publish a book and also a university master on this particular topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, any more questions? No? So, well, maybe we're nearly out of time, no?
Thank you.
So, thank you very much for your attendance, and thank you to all the speakers.
Thank you.